All right, everyone. Good morning. I hope you guys enjoyed the first panel. I'm John Cafarelli, the co-founder and president of BeautyMatter, and we have such a great panel here today. If there's one word that has dominated the headlines, the boardrooms, the brainstorms of sort of every company in the last 2 years, it's the word AI. But in beauty, just as in every industry, the real question isn't like whether or not we're going to start using AI, because I think that decision sort of has already been made, right? But the question now is, how are we going to use AI? And that's, I think, where things get pretty interesting, and that's sort of the tenor of the conversation for today. When you look past the hype, what matters most is not the theory of AI, but it's sort of the practical impact of it. The real ways that it's being used to create faster, to personalize smarter, predict better, sort of less of the buzz and more of the business impact. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to move past the headlines and sort of into the trenches of implementation, where the opportunities are real, but the complexities are also pretty real as well. Where do you start? How do you scale? And how do you ensure you're building AI strategies that are not just these shiny experiments, but actually sustainable competitive advantages? Just a quick note, to embrace the technology, I actually wrote this panel using ChatGPT. So the three of us had a great conversation. Gemini took notes on that conversation. I uploaded those notes into ChatGPT, and out came this conversation. So you guys will be the judge as to how good ChatGPT did for us today. It definitely needed some human massaging. So even $100 billion of market value can't replace the BeautyMatter touch. So, but let's see how it did. So. Let's start by setting the stage and understanding how each of you is using AI in your businesses today. So when you think about AI and beauty, what is the most important practical impact it's already having in your business? And Jeffrey, let's start with you.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. It's a very interesting topic that, as you said, we're all involved with to a various degree or other. The way we're looking at it, so I'm taking the approach from a perspective of not really the technology part of it, as you said, but really the productivity side of it. How do we use AI to enhance our business model overall? And we really see our goal is for it to be a partnership, a member of our team, if you will, that allows us to increase our productivity, increases our agility. The market's changing so much. We were talking about this before, but the world has changed in the last year, in EI, but in all aspects of our beauty business. And we know that AI can help us with a lot of things like doing a lot of the mundane tasks that people normally have to do, analyzing large quantities of data. For example, forecasting and inventory management is very, very critical. It always has been. It's becoming more critical as the retail environment changes. So we've set down, I think we've set the foundation of, we have a governance framework of trying to use AI ethically and effectively and carefully from a consumer point of view. And we've started working with it. A lot of our team members have kind of started using AI even on their own before we really started talking about it. So we're seeing some of those productivity gains already. But what we want to do is try and figure out what that vision looks like in the future, adapt as AI itself adapts and evolves, and really make it very practical in terms of what kind of problems or opportunities could we be solving in the future through the use of AI. So that's kind of where we are in our journey right now.
Yeah, Frank, how about you? Where are you guys?
Yeah, so I lead AI adoption and innovation at Dermalogica and across the other Unilever prestige brands. When it comes to implementation, anything that we do is guided by three key questions. Are we tackling the right problems? Do we have the right culture? Do we have the right infrastructure? Tackling the right problems really is about alignment with the most pressing financial goals of the brands. We're striving to have brands growing at double-digit growth. Cost savings and efficiencies are exciting, but what excites me even more is sales growth. Right culture, for me, comes with both top-down leadership as well as bottom-up innovation, so we're striving to achieve both. The top-down is clear. I think it's which functions, tech, use cases are we switching on, but even more importantly, what are we switching off? Some of those bold executive decisions around, right, we're no longer going to do X. We're no longer going to do it that way, and we need to sort of go to the teams, go figure it out with AI. Right infrastructure, I think this is a close partnership with our legal team, privacy team, IT to ensure that the right tools are in place and that we're enabling people to use them responsibly, but also that they've got the enablement training that they need to drive innovation.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge, I love using AI. In fact, Kelly and I were just in Shanghai last week, and I used AI to help pick a hotel that we should stay at, and I gave it a whole bunch of criteria. And so, like, when you're playing around with it, it's truly fun. But when you're using it in a corporate environment where things are proprietary, where security is, tantamount, it does sort of raise a bunch of issues that using it to pick a hotel in Shanghai sort of doesn't raise.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think across, I chat to people across within our industry, across industries. I'm sensing that a lot of organizations are being exceedingly risk averse with what they're doing with their data and what they're allowing to touch the AI stack. I think it's coming from the right places, and especially in Europe, GDPR. I think for the right reasons, brands, firms are being risk averse. But at the same time, I think I see a lot of enterprises with feel like their hands tied behind their back because they're in some sort of Copilot purgatory where you're only allowed to use Copilot, but Copilot doesn't work. So,
you said it, not me.
I mean, so what we've done is we've drafted a set of Gen AI guardrails and saying, look, these are the things that you can't do. No PII, no company-sensitive information, and here's the exceptions. Here's if you've got a use case that you want to drive forward. Reach out to my team, and we can help find a way. Yeah,
we'll get into the guardrails in a little bit. But before that, Chaz, tell us how you've been using AI.
Yeah, for sure. So I think AI is my business, right?
Yeah.
And it has been my business for 10 years. So my last company was an AI dermatology company, and now we are actually helping companies realize, real results, measurable results from AI. But when you think about how it's used in the business, I think the biggest thing is there's really two ways that AI gets implemented, and that's either for efficiency or, as you're saying, operational sets, or it's going to be about competitive advantage. And it's really important to make those distinctions because how you then use it, how you implement it, the structures you put around it are really important. And I think that's what's been missing in a lot of the conversations that businesses are after because so many people step in and what Jeffrey and I were just talking about, right? The question that so many companies have is all this hype around AI, all these great goals, a strategy comes out, but that how in the middle is really tricky, right?
Yeah.
So AI is going to save us 50% in formulation time, faster product, faster product development. It's going to save us operational cycles and level our people up. But what technology? How do I do that? And that's really the sausage making that's super important. And that's kind of the core of what we use AI for is actually putting in that technology that can deliver results.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, people are like, oh yeah, we're using AI in our company, and really what you find out is that they're using a free account on ChatGPT.
On ChatGPT, yeah, and that's the other thing, right? It's like the world of AI is so much bigger, and don't get me wrong, like the LLMs and ChatGPT do amazing things for finding a hotel in Shanghai or helping to edit some emails and things that go out. But in terms of like the true power that it unlocks for your business, it far exceeds that. It far exceeds LLMs. It's into a very different world of AI that's moving incredibly fast.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey, you've spoken about avoiding big bang adoption in favor of test and learn. What's worked best for you in terms of embedding AI into the fabric of a business as big as your business? I mean, you have a global mass beauty brand.
Right. Yeah, we're in the mass cosmetics business, a lot of SKUs, a lot of innovation, a lot of products coming and going. So AI, we're starting to work in the area of prediction in terms of using it for our forecasting, because it's, as we mentioned before, the amount of inventory that you have, whether it's yourself or within the distribution chain, is under pressure. Everyone's looking to reduce that investment, and that pressure is coming back on us. And we have to be able to be much more agile and much more accurate to begin with, but also reactive as things inevitably change. And we're starting to see that AI can play a role in that. The other side of it, I think, too, is the whole world of the dynamic of search is changing dramatically. It already had changed quite a bit. Like Amazon's the #1 search platform for our category for some time now. But this whole shift from SEO to GEO, and what does that mean? And a lot of people are predicting, making all kinds of claims like SEO is going away. I don't think it really is, but you need to be adaptable. And almost like there's two different kind of search criterias, where you have the human part of it. What is a human thinking about in terms of the kind of beauty products they're searching for? And then what is the machine looking for, and what is effective with the machine, and on the more the GEO side, and the blending and merging of that. But as Chaz was saying before, these are things we know, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to find people like Chaz and other companies to work with us, because we have this ambition, but it's almost like a confidence and comfortableness of using it and trying to solve, like, what problems are you really trying to solve in your area of function of the company, and almost having a partner that can kind of guide us through that and give us the confidence that we can kind of take it from here, sort of thing. Because the one thing we're trying to avoid too is we don't want 3 or 4 super users in our company who are using AI to the maximum, and everybody else is just looking for hotels on ChatGPT, sort of thing. So we're, like I said before, we're really trying to make it part of our culture, but I think we're going to need some people who have done it before, kind of give us that confidence and that experience to help us through that journey. That's where we are right now.
And just as like an indication of how fast AI is moving, like when we prepared for this conversation, the announcement that ChatGPT and Shopify are partnering together hadn't even been made, right?
Yeah. And now Walmart.
And Walmart. Okay, well, yeah, and Walmart. I mean, it's like this stuff is moving so fast. I'm not even sure. Like, the interesting thing is that I'm not sure anyone really understands how it is going to impact. So it's sort of the Wild West. Which creates opportunities, I think, for people. And the winners may not be who you expect to be the winners.
Right, and that's why we feel the whole company has to be engaged with it, so that as things evolve, we understand, we see it, and we talk about how we're going to either take advantage of it or modify our processes. So, like I said, we're not left behind in the whole search world because we're not efficient in GEO, for example.
Yeah. Frank, at Dermalogica and Unilever Prestige, how have you navigated moving AI initiatives and adoption forward in such a massive organization? Like, I feel like when you're in a huge company like Unilever, it's harder. It's like turning a cruise ship as opposed to turning a speedboat, right? So how do you sort of work that?
Sure.
Like, how have you sold it internally?
Yeah. So I tend to think about it through the lens of top down and bottom up. And they're quite different. Top down, as I mentioned a moment ago, it often comes with what are we switching off? And an example is about a year ago at this time, we decided we're switching off human translations. Going forward, we sell products in 80-some countries, so translations are a big part of our business. It often falls in the hands of our marketers, educators across the globe to translate marketing copy. And it's a time-consuming or expensive process. And so, I'm a bit of a language nerd. So I've watched the evolution of Google Translate over the years, and it was just really never good enough to use in market. But we, said we're switching off human translations. Go figure it out. And the team figured out a way to do it with OpenAI. Did a bit of vibe coding to find a scalable solution using OpenAI with brand glossaries, et cetera. But it started with that top-down directive. The bottom-up, so we have a 4-part framework that we use for bottom-up. Survey, allocate, pioneer, scale. So the survey part of it, in some cases, it is just surveys going out, like, hey, what are you spending your time doing? What are some of the tasks that you find to be repetitive? What's something that you wish you could delegate to an intern if you had an extra intern on your team? And so we get hundreds of responses to that. From there, we, as a central team, we allocate which of those use cases coming from the org feel high ROI. It would actually make a difference. And so we decide which ones that we're going to then put a pioneer in front of and sort of say, right, you're the driver of this project. Go find a way to innovate and to replace the manual task with something AI generated. Then from there, once something's working, we scale it. We put resource behind it. If it's someone non-technical, I partner them with someone from my team and give them whatever they need to disseminate it across the organization.
Yeah, interesting. Chaz, you've worked with a number of brands in a number of different ways to sort of deploy AI into their organizational workflows. Tell us about some of the lessons that you've learned about deploying AI where human workflows and data quality are just as critical as whatever the technology is that they're using.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Jeffrey hit it in terms of AI is moving so fast that your ability to predict. I live and breathe this every day, and there are announcements that surprise me of how fast they came. And so those of us who don't live and breathe AI every day, your ability to forecast where it's going to be in 12, 18 months is almost impossible. But I think the point that Jeffrey was making is you have to be prepared to be able to then catch that wave and ride that tide up, and a lot of that comes down to the foundation. And so being able to take advantage of AI means doing some very unsexy things. Like AI is really fun and shiny, but getting your data in order, getting the workflows that can actually then fuel that data or turn that data into fuel for your AI, setting up the organizational culture that Frank mentioned. So actually getting those use cases built around the problems that your teams and your people face so that it does get adopted and you don't invest in a vertical platform that just sits on the side and nobody uses it. Those are all the unsexy things that make AI work for you, right? And so I think getting those, putting that work in and being able to articulate this is where we're going to use it, this is how we're going to use it, is really important. I think the other thing that's really important, because organizations, everyone comes from an organization of different size in the room, what Frank was articulating around top down and bottom up is really, really important. Having a vision and then giving your teams the autonomy to figure out what's going to work best for them is going to work. Most of us are entrepreneurs in here. We don't run our business in a hierarchical, like top-down fashion. Don't try to do that with AI. Allow the best use cases to surface, see what's working, let your teams experiment, and almost democratize like that whole process, and then scale up what works and put some structure around it. I think the other problem and advice we kind of give back as we're implementing to your human question, I think almost every problem that we've seen in AI is either data or humans. The problem is typically not AI. It's someone is messing something up, someone goes off the rails, someone puts bad data in. And so really focusing your time and energy on getting those human systems and those data foundations right is going to take you so much farther in there. And then I think the last piece of advice I would give everyone in this room is there's probably no one in this room that should be building their own AI. And this is coming from someone who helps companies build AI. So take it from that. Like, no one in here should be building your own models because you don't have the teams, you don't have the ability to maintain it. You're much better off finding things that are off the shelf, starting to figure out how you customize those to your use case, and do 80% you can buy off the shelf and 20% some customization to make it really work for you, and you'll be so much better off in the long run than investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into trying to create something custom that's antiquated in 6 months.
Yeah.
And building on what you're saying, Chaz, I think two things is, one, the reason why we talk a lot about AI, we built a little task force of which the senior team is leading, of people across the organization, is, first of all, we want people to be comfortable and not afraid of AI. There's
Absolutely.
a lot of buzz out there of job losses, being replaced and all that thing, where we really see, like you were saying, Frank, is that there's a huge amount of data, for example, that we can actually get to things and do things that we couldn't do as humans or with Excel or things like that. So that's a plus, not a negative. And it really can then give people a chance to do actually like thinking things and strategy and reacting. And the other thing is, as you were alluding to, is don't trust AI blindly.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It takes that human touch. I don't see anytime soon where you're just going to be able to blindly get an output from AI and release it, especially in terms of brand integrity and,
yeah, not at all.
And consumer connection. You don't want things out there that are in any way negative. Interestingly enough, with the younger team members, and we like to have a lot of interns coming in and everything, they're very excited about AI. They jump on it and everything. But it's also almost some of the more experienced people who are kind of more apt to kind of check the output and say, well, does this really make sense, or is this aligned with our brand values? And that's super important to do in terms of the effective and the proper use of AI.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit. Like anyone who's watched me post a TikTok video knows that I am not the most tech savvy person, although I used to consider myself to be very tech savvy. Yeah. But when it comes to AI, I've 25 years of work experience, so my prompts are probably a little bit more focused and I know what I want to get out of the model, so I can prompt a little bit better than maybe someone who's a year out of school and doesn't have 25 years of work experience. Generationally, do you think that AI is better suited to a younger generation, or who embraces technology probably better than someone who's 46 years old, or do you think it's better suited to someone who brings some work experience to the table?
I think it's a real blend, and we have that in our organization. We've built a great team over the last 10 years, and as I said, we like to have the young perspective coming in. We have a lot of university students as interns giving us kind of what's going on in the world and how you're doing things that we wouldn't even think about. But at the same time, I think that business experience is kind of understanding, as you were saying, Frank, like what problems are we trying to solve? And that's it sounds obvious, but it's not an easy necessarily a thing to do, because if you define that problem properly, then you can start from a prompting point of view, getting into something that actually gives you the solution to that problem. But it's really having a good understanding of what your job is and what your roles and responsibilities are beyond just like on a piece of paper.
Yeah. Frank, from your perspective, is AI better suited, is it easier for startups to implement, or is it easier for incumbents to implement? I mean, you as an incumbent have access to so much more data than maybe a startup would, but a startup might be more flexible. What do you think?
Yep. I think on average, probably more. I think it's a very exciting time to be launching a brand. I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time to launch a brand. If you've got the right curiosity and I think if you're a founder, you've got it in you to lean in and to try something and to fail. And I think the barriers to entry are lower than they've ever been. And I think AI just plays such a big role in that. On the enterprise side, I think it depends. I think you're right. From the data standpoint, I mean, AI almost by definition is data hungry. And so if you've got your data, if an org has a high degree of data readiness, I think there's a massive competitive advantage that a bigger organization can have. But I think it requires that data readiness, because you could have decades of data and it could be, in sloppy formats, and it really just not ready for use in AI.
Yeah, and we're almost out of time, but Chaz, last question. You've argued that AI should amplify a brand's superpower. What are some of the overlooked areas within beauty where AI could be a game changer?
I think some of the biggest ones are going to be in formulation, product development, supply chain. Obviously, the use cases for prompting and in the creative side, there's a lot of conversation about what AI is doing in marketing and creative, so we won't drop into that, but I think that's only just scratching the surface. But thinking about what you can do from a product development standpoint, if you could connect what's happening in your point of sale data, other feedback mechanisms from trend, empower your chemists if you have your own lab, or your contract manufacturers to be able to connect that and actually use AI in formulation development to cycle through product development in 3 months versus 18, right? So those that are startups in here, like the game is speed. And that is what makes you great. And to Frank's question around like where enterprises and incumbents struggle, it's to actually unleash the power of AI because it's governance cycles that are 18 months long. It's all the decisioning. As a startup and a founder where you have your team, your technology, and the power to make that decision, like this is your moment in the way that there has been no other time. And if you take that and look at things like agentic commerce, we didn't really get to scratch into that at all. But I think I would look at AI if I were in your shoes right now in product development, supply chain to get things to market faster, better, cheaper, and then thinking about how to compete in this new retail landscape that will be turned upside down with agentic commerce. Because everything that SEO did, and you look at what the agentic commerce like ChatGPT landscape looks like, there's something to the tune of, I think, 800 apps in ChatGPT right now. Like if you think about that world and think about if ChatGPT and agentic commerce can become what e-commerce was and what search was, and you can be one of those early players that the agents are actually interacting with your app about something specific in skincare or makeup or hair care to answer consumer questions, your ability to win in that space is unreal. And so I think those are the places that I would really, really be doubling down to, again, give superpowers to the things that you do so well. And I think if you think about where you focus your attention on AI, look at what your company does, where it's great today, and say, what could I make even better in that? Because the rest of AI is just going to be table stakes. People are going to catch up. Everyone's going to use ChatGPT. Everyone's going to be better in email writing. So focus on what makes you special right now and just accelerate that.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have some time for questions. Does anyone have a question for these guys? I see one in the back.
You guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Hi. So I think TikTok and social media is rife with content kind of making fun of AI and just like the top-down pressure from leadership to be like, use AI, use AI. But then it's like, what's that practical and tactical next step to get the team to do it? So I'm with a small brand. We have a small team. I know we can use AI so much better. But when the team and myself, we don't know what we don't know, what do you do when you're having to be your own teacher in an area that you're unfamiliar with?
Chaz, do you have a business card?
Happy to talk. I think the short answer is you don't have to be your own teacher is the first thing. There's some amazing free resources out there and just getting the baseline of what AI is. Google has some. I can go back and send you some others later. But I think the first thing is like, don't necessarily try to just learn it on your own. I think the other one is really identify where your team can be that much better if they spend the time learning, right? So you're not going to do everything. And if it's in content creation and like slimming down the editing process for videos to make your creatives better, like focus and go in hard on that. And like, candidly, YouTube is amazing right now at all the tools that are popping up and how to use them. That's where I would plug in. And then I think as you roll that out across like brand and company more specifically, it really is then starting to map your workflows and figure out like, where am I going to go use this? In the same way you did with Instagram or TikTok as a new platform, AI is just a different technology stack that you're putting in.
I saw Deanna Kangas here. Sorry to call you out, Deanna. I did see you, though.
Thank you so much. That was so interesting. My question is based on, I heard that from an AI expert that the beauty industry is behind other industries. So we like to think that we're ahead of trends and you know, it's a special industry. What can we do? If I was a startup right now, I think AI is the first thing I would do, because how do you get ahead? And how do you get ahead quickly? Because there is no time. When you launch a new brand in today's market, you got to hit the ground running. And I think they could use AI. So can you guys highlight, like, what would be the top 2 or 3 things that you would do for these small brands to get AI so they could have a competitive edge?
I think even in the previous session, they talked about we're a unique industry, and typically we're a little bit behind in certain disruptive fashions because we are so much, there's that human, that feeling, that artistic part of it, and then there's all of the administrative, the data, the analytics part of it. It's a unique industry in that way. And as I think the Sephora person said before, a lot of it is about that feeling. So in our industry, I think it's figuring out how that merger of the art side of it, the human side of it, and the machine side of it in terms of making best use of AI. And I think, like you were talking about before, there are companies out there that can help you, guide you. As you said, I wouldn't really do it by myself. Like, you can do some interesting things, but in terms of coming up with some goals and strategies and actually a plan that actually makes it work, and you start to get some value out of it, there are a number of pretty good companies out there. There's a company, for example, in New York called Section. This is not a paid advertisement for them. But they've got a lot of seminars and sessions, and they will also work with companies to try and help you understand AI, its benefits, and bring it into as I was saying earlier, what we feel is a member of our team.
Yeah, and just as a quick note before we end, this past year for the holidays, BeautyMatter gave our team subscriptions to Section. So we all take courses, well, I take them, I don't know if everyone else takes them, but we take courses on how to sort of integrate AI into our daily workflows.
John, right. Can I say one thing in there just to the how? The one thing that I would say everyone in here should be doing with AI is think about how to use very simple AI tools to get your customers or your potential customers to identify and share data with you. And not in a creepy way, but think about how many people in your funnel, whether you're selling through retail or through DTC, that you never get to see who they are. And by giving them some value, creating some tools, some interaction with AI, where you can now identify that person who left something in the shopping cart was Chaz Giles, lives in this city, loves these types of things, that gives you so much power and value to drive your business forward. I think that's the number one thing you could do to accelerate.
All right, and we're at time. Thank you guys so much. It's been so informative.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks again.
Thanks, yeah.